You're starting with the scary music.
Yeah.
I like it. All right, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the show. This is our Halloween Ghost Hunt show. TJ Trout, BV. We got Gabe in the newsroom. We got Michael Carlisle in the traffic room. All of us were witness to what happened in the beginning of the month. Southwest Ghost Hunters Cody Polston is here with us right now, and Cynthia Hess is going to be coming in, I think, 4 o'clock hour, so she's going to be hanging out with us for a while.
Cool.
How are you? Everything? This time of year for you has got to be nuts.
It is. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Just lots of book signings, and people remember there's ghost hunters, and
Yeah, but, oh, by the way, Gabe?
To me.
Yeah, that donut you gave me?
Tell me about it.
It's one of the best things I ever ate.
Well, he didn't make it.
I know. I don't have to tell him. Hey, by the way, both gentlemen, everybody in here, I got a little blood red wine in here.
Oh.
I figured I'd share it for the Halloween show. This is called Phantom.
Oh, yes.
There is actually a wine out there that is made in Transylvania.
Oh.
I went, and I'm not going to say which store I went into. It says, yeah, we can't get it in this state. So I was specifically looking for the Transylvanian wine.
I wonder why we can't get it. Alcohol content too high?
I don't know what it is. Well, it's probably like a drop of blood.
Oh, well, that might be it.
in every bottle.
Oh.
But, so you guys ready?
Yes, we're ready to go.
You're ready. Gabe, any final words before we begin this thing?
I'm braced. I've got my adult diapers on. We're ready to go.
Carlisle, you were there. You remember?
Yeah, I'm curious to see how this turns out. A lot more happened than I thought was going to happen, so
right.
I'm curious how this all turns out.
And Colonel Sanders,
Yes,
that is a fabulous Halloween costume.
Thank you. I sacrificed a chicken, so I'm ready to go here.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, well, this is what we're going to do, Cody. We're going to get into the show, and I'll just lay this out and then as we go, we'll have a little more time to talk. Probably in the 4 o'clock hour, 5 o'clock hour. You are going to analyze a bunch of this stuff,
Right.
Okay, and you'll have your take. Cynthia will have her take. And by that time, we'll be through about 4 or 5 bottles of that wine, so
It won't matter.
It won't matter.
We'll have spirit.
That's exactly. All right, should we go?
Yep.
Hit it. All right, so every year we do this. We find a place to do a ghost hunt at. And now we're at Casa Vieja in Corrales. Cody Polston sitting across from all of us, Southwest Ghost Hunters Association. Cynthia Hess to my left. And so, Cody, have you ever done this place before?
A very long time ago.
What happened?
Nothing. I'm just being honest. Jim White was here last time I came here.
Oh, so that was a long time when Jim White owned the
place. It was a very long time ago.
Yeah. So pretty much nothing going though.
We didn't get nothing that night. No.
Yeah. Okay. So what's the game plan for tonight?
Well, just a systematic search, I would assume. We just go from room to room and talk to people that have, hear some stories and see what's going on.
Now. So what are we going to do with the technology-wise?
So they have a device, before when we do EVP, so the way it's done is you basically turn on a recording device, you ask questions, you be silent, and when you play back later sometimes there's voices that are not yours.
Right.
This enables us to do it real time. So basically you ask the question, they record it, and then boom, it plays back. So we get an answer then. We don't have to wait till you're back home at the house and okay, was that my stomach or yours? What was that noise? You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, that's a lot of times when you're doing the EVPs, it could be something that's like across the street, right?
Right. And then, it was at the time we might be, that was that noise or that was somebody speaking. But 2 weeks later, when you're doing it the old way, you don't know.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. So now we'll know because it's going to be instantaneous.
Yeah. Right.
Okay. Well, listen, I asked you this before, and I ask you this a lot. Oh, no. Oh, God, here it comes. No. So the phenomenon again, is the phenomenon, is it real? Or is it a bunch of drunk people thinking they're seeing ghosts? Is it just natural, just doors slamming open and closing on their own? Or is it just legend and myth? Or is there something to these activities?
Well, I guess the best answer is it's real because people see it. The question is, what is it?
Yeah.
Trying to figure out what it is.
How many years you been doing this?
Since 1985.
And you haven't figured this out yet?
It's more complex. I mean, we got deep the last time we were on radio. We're talking a little bit. I can go deeper than that. It is so complicated.
Yeah.
And it's not easy because you're dealing with something that's so vague, and it depends on how you want to define things, and then where do you go from there? You know,
a lot of it too is you try to do as much of the scientific method as you possibly can, but your information has to even be more accurate and more better proven because the subject matter you're dealing with is so bizarro world.
Right. And there's a motive for people to hoax and fake things too. You know, get their 15 minutes on TikTok. And that's a problem.
Yeah. All right. Again, I always ask you this: what are ghosts? What do you think? What do you think ghosts are? And I know Cynthia will have a different answer.
Well, probably, but that'd be cool. What are ghosts? Like I said, I often just go by the definition. It's an echo in time, something that's been recorded. It's also called place memory. I think is what they call it in parapsychology.
Okay.
So.
Has that opinion changed over the years? You've been doing this for a long time. So now, is this a different opinion?
No, it's the same opinion. It's just you're trying to define the term. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's just defining the term.
Because I always ask you if time or place has a memory.
Yeah. Well, according to parapsychology, yes, it does.
Okay. Right. Are ghosts conscious, in your opinion?
It depends on what kind of ghost you're talking about. There's 5.
Just answer the question.
There's 5 types of ghosts. Well, so I want to drive Randy.
This is important.
So what we're talking about is the systematic studies done by parapsychology since starting around 1890. And, for example, in 1940, G.M. Corrales did a whole bunch of work. In the 70s, it was a guy named Green and Celicia Green and Charles McCreary. They did a lot of studies. And so they started taking all this information from all these different interviews they'd done with people that had things happen, and they started categorizing them based on their traits. So they came up with 5 ghost types out of that. So, for example, like the first one is post-mortem. So that's ghosts of people that have deceased within 12 hours. But the traits of it they are people that are a relative or a close friend.
Okay.
And
is that like your mom dies?
And mom comes to say bye.
Hypothetically, she wants to come back to you and say, son, goodbye, I love you, I'll see you on the other side.
Right. That is the most common type.
Okay.
You have crisis apparitions, which are apparitions of living people that are going through a crisis.
Oh, but people are alive.
Yeah, I've actually experienced that. When I was in the Air Force, a buddy of mine, we were just landed at Misawa Air Base in Japan, and he saw his mother clutching her chest, and it faded, and he freaked out. I got to call home. Yeah. Well, he managed to call back to the States and yeah, she had a heart attack. She's fine. How do you know? We've been trying to get a hold of you.
Oh, my God.
So that would be an example of a crisis apparition.
Okay.
Then you have the bystander type, and these are ghosts. They say that ghosts hunt people, places, and objects. This is ghost hunting people. So it's a ghost that follows a person. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie The Entity that came out in the 1970s with the girl. It doesn't matter where you go, the ghost is attached to that person.
The ghost follows you and then is always with you.
Right.
Well, that sucks.
The bad part about that is it also mimics behaviors that are bad, such as psychotic conditions, schizophrenia. Okay. So you need to make sure the person has a psychological evaluation before you really start investigating that for your own safety. After that's hauntings, which we talked about, and that has a set of criteria to it. And then you have poltergeist cases, also known as PK events, which is people doing things with their minds.
So I would move, if I got really angry with you, and I shot my anger towards you, I'd throw your beer all over your face with my mind.
Yeah, the dark side.
But that's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay, so that would be...
Like Carrie.
Yes, Carrie, exactly. You're looking at me.
Oh, I was just going to ask, Cody, are there any, from a historical context, are there any kind of locations that would lend themselves towards that, where it might be easier, like battlefields or places like that, where there might be, spirits and things that are not resting, that are a little more active? I mean, places that you think, even if you've never been there before, this is probably a good spot to go.
Well, I mean, the traditional mindset is it's wherever, unexpected death has happened, like a battlefield. And so there's a lot of famous places like that. But there's also places where that hasn't happened, and there's still activity. La Placida down in Old Town. Remember we did that one, TJ, a long time ago. It's haunted by a little girl. I mean, there's nothing odd about that. It's just for some reason she's there. She passed away and still hanging out.
Yeah, these personal ghosts that you were talking about. So is this something that maybe a person may not even realize for a while? Do you have to have that gift to actually see them and things that you've seen before?
So you're talking like the ghosts that haunt people?
Yeah.
Oh, they know. They know they're... See, one of the bad things where it's hard for me, like someone like me to investigate it, is... One of the traits of that is they do not appear when other people are around. So in other words, they're going to mess with you when you're alone. And that's why they suggest there might be ascensions, because it knows you're not there. And that makes it hard to study.
No, you said there are 5 different types of ghosts. How many have you encountered?
All right, so what we had to do a very long time ago is define what we wanted to do as a group. And we chose just to focus on hauntings. Part of that was we used to investigate private residences, and we had a bad experience in Four Corners. We ran into a woman that was, she had all these ghosts and stuff, and I remember we asked, one of the questions after you taking medication, and she's like, no. Well, when I went in the bathroom, the first thing I do is open the cabinet, and there's lots of medicine pills, and I call my friend who was studying to be a doctor. I said, can you run some of these? I want to know what they are. And so I start spelling them because I can't pronounce them. And he looks and he goes, dude, get out of the house. I'm like, why? What's wrong? He goes, these are what they give to the really bad people that are psychotic. Like they're borderline being committed. And I ran out the door, trying to find the rest of the team. They were already walking away. Dude, we're out of here. I'm like, why? Dude, she told us she has to sleep with a Bible under her butt so the demons won't rape her. Now, to tell you how bad this is, another group went in after. They emailed us. We got this case. They came from Colorado, and don't go. They went anyway. So I guess she was multiple personalities, and it depends on what personality is talking to you. But she took a number 2 pencil and stabbed one of the ghost hunter guys in the thigh, penetrated his thigh an inch. So it can get dangerous. So we said, we're not going to do private residences. In the case of the first one, where it's grandma or grandpa, it only happens once, so I can record the story, but other than that, I really can't do anything. The hard part is when you're dealing with hauntings, they kind of get mimicked by the poltergeist stuff, the stuff that humans cause. So you have to really get in depth and study it and look for patterns. So if it's a haunting, it's going to have groups of data, patterns, where if it's a psi event, it's going to be all over the place.
How come when I have you in the studio, you're not that interesting? But now you're like really interesting.
The beer.
The beer, and we're rushed. Hang on, traffic in 7 seconds.
Right, exactly.
That's why.
All right, listen, you guys get ready to do what you got to do.
Cool.
Okay, we're going to talk to Cynthia and find out how her take on all of this is different.
Cody is a scientist, so he has he's very technical in how he sees things. My perspective is just based on where my experience and how I have defined it. But a ghost is really it's almost like memory. So your body goes in at death, your body goes into the earth, the soul journeys on to other lifetimes or other experiences, so they say. And the mind, the intellect, is what remains, the memories, the attachments, the associations. So that is what I feel when I do something like this. I walk into a building and I immediately feel all kinds of different experiences, feelings, and also because I've spent a lot of time on the Navajo reservation, there are burial grounds that are here. It's very common in New Mexico. And that is a whole different aspect where there are prayers, native people pass, and different energy comes out from that to protect the person from any kind of...
I'm going to back up the truck for a second.
Okay.
Because you said, all right, in your philosophy, in your opinion, someone croaks, they're dead.
Yeah.
Okay, soul takes off. Wherever the soul goes, the soul goes. But you said the mind and the consciousness remains?
The memory, it's an intelligence. So the ghost...
Well, doesn't the soul have an intelligence, though?
Yeah, but it has its own journey. The body goes into the earth.
Right.
The soul has an energy, and we have to experience all experiences.
Yeah, okay.
And it journeys on.
All right.
And some people have documented photography or photographs of the soul coming out of the solar plexus and going out. But the ghost is an energy and intelligence of all the people that have been in this building and these grounds that have had major experiences here.
Right. I asked Cody this question: does what remain here, in your opinion, have a consciousness, or is it just a? It's an image. It's
an energy. It's like Wi-Fi. You can call upon it. So it's like Wi-Fi. There is this one collective consciousness, and whoever has been here, you all have an ability. You can call a spirit and just say, I want, whoever has been here to appear.
I want you to want me. We are back at our ghost hunt this year at Casa Vieja in Corrales, and we got both Gary and Lindy Soha here, the owners. And I think the last time I talked to you was pre-COVID. You came in and you brought, at least you spoke of your beer. You're an artist.
We work hard at it.
Okay. This is a beautiful place.
Thank you.
I've always loved this place, years and years ago. So which one of you wants to give me the history of the building? Apparently it's you. Right.
So this building was built in 1770.
1770?
Yes.
Okay.
And it was in connection with the Alameda land grant. So Mr. Martinez came here with an Alameda land grant in his pocket, and he decided to build a house. Well, some things never change, because this house was actually built for his daughter. So his daughter lived here, and it stayed in the Martinez family until 1942. So during that time of 1770 and 1942, it was a number of things. It was certainly a residence for the family. But in those times, you have to understand that, it had to be a number of things. Like, it was a courthouse for a while. Oh. And so they would have trials here. And, on a Saturday afternoon, they would move all the furniture out of the main room, and they would have what amounted to a trial, a judge trial. Well, the fun part about it is, or the not fun, depending on which side of the trial you were on, is if you were convicted, they would take you out on Corrales Road and march you down the road and have you pelted with rotten vegetables down to where the territorial house used to be, where they had the hanging tree.
Right.
And that's where the hangings would go on, is at the hanging tree. So this was the courthouse, and that was the punishment.
See, we did the territorial house years and years ago. I think it was the first ghost hunt we ever did. Mm-hmm. And that's where the chair moved.
Oh, yeah.
So the chair moved. We saw the chair move.
But
so continue. I'm sorry.
So anyway, it was a convent for a while, or nuns. French nuns lived here for a while, and soldiers were housed here once upon a time. It was a general store once upon a time, and it was all of these things until 1942, when it left the family and was purchased by a Mrs. Harrington as it was a falling down building at the time. We actually have some photos of it, and it was in really, of, 20 rooms, there were really only 3 rooms standing. So major remodel, brought it back to its original glory. And the Harringtons lived in it until 1970, and at that time it was, transformed into another residence, and then it was a psychiatric hospital for a while. There was
the ghosts.
There was a pool in the back, a therapy pool that was in the back, and then for 50 years, as you pointed out, it was a high-end restaurant.
Yeah, sure.
So, the fun story is, 42 years ago, Lynn and I were having a margarita in the bar on our honeymoon. And, we had rifled through the couch to find change so that we could afford that margarita.
Right.
But so we eventually bought the place, which somehow makes sense. I'm not quite sure how that worked, but it did make sense. So, over the years, it was a lot of different things and a lot of different, the thing that we love about it, this is obviously our passion project.
Sure.
And the thing that we like about it is everybody has a Casa Vieja story. It can be a ghost story. It could be we got married there. It could be our wedding reception was there, but everybody has a story. And, we have a lot of fun doing what we do. And people really like coming here and hanging out and drinking some beverages and listening to music, and it's all good.
Well, my story is right behind you, and this is true because of back when Jim White owned the place.
Yes, great chef.
It was like Norm on Cheers, because that was my table right behind where we're sitting right now, right in the middle of that window, and that's where we would sit and have our dinner.
Yeah, and it's very village oriented.
And so now a brewery, right?
And
the brew house, I should say.
Well, no, a brewery. We have a little baby brewery in the back.
Okay.
That's where we make our beer. And the state of New Mexico recently changed the law to where we can also serve New Mexico wines, and we can also serve New Mexico spirits.
All right, and thank you for being generous with your beer tonight.
My pleasure.
All right, we are back at Casa Vieja on our ghost hunt with psychic Cynthia Hess sitting across from us, and BV. You got that look in your eye.
Yeah, Cynthia, you feel like you're sensing something in here. Do they want to communicate? How do you know when there's just something you're feeling, something that wants to get a message out?
I do feel like they want a message. And I think when I first came in here, I talked to Linda about what I felt about the building and what has happened here. And it's almost like pieces of a puzzle. This building that over time were separate, that have come together, but not energetically. So it's been a place where people came for comfort, for healing, for wellness, for food, to rest. But I feel like there are certain people here that have been here that stayed here for a long time, that the spirit or the ghost is still in this building.
Why won't they leave?
Because it's almost like there's whatever happened to them in their life, a lot of them are still attached here, and it seems to go back in time. I don't know how old this building is, but in the beginning of this, there are certain compartments. It's almost like this whole building is compartmentalized with something happened here, something happened there, nothing, there feels like there's new pieces, that there's nothing. And then there is a heaviness, like there is some kind of energy here. But it's like people came to heal, people came to eat or rest, and some of them never got out of here.
So do you think that they want us to leave them alone already? I mean, because obviously other people have been here trying to get in touch with the other side. Do you think, are they ever like, all right, enough? Like,
no,
we're
they
good.
don't think like human people think. It's just an intelligence. It's there. So it's like a database. So they don't react like a human being. They're just here. It's just a presence that here, it becomes activated by you calling for it or, igniting it. So it's like poltergeist.
Like Wi-Fi.
Yeah, it's Wi-Fi. It's like poltergeist. There are bad things that have happened in different places, and that energy you can never get out. It's like there was like a video store here. They burnt it down. There are certain buildings or certain events that happen where there are murders or something takes place that they burn to the ground because they can never get that energy out.
Okay, so let's get into the nuts and bolts of this. What did you bring with you?
I brought a pendulum. I brought divining rods. And I bought a Native American feather. I also bought sage. So the sage is kind of like, I asked Linda about, just doing something to, bring the continuity together. Like, the average person that comes in here would never feel what I feel. They would feel what I said. They would feel that they came home. They want to be nurtured. They feel like they're away. It creates a different time and space. There's an energy here where you feel like you're on vacation, and you're still in New Mexico. You feel like you're on vacation. It's like coming home. It's family. But it's because of the way, I don't know if something was built and then something added and then something added and something added. It creates this energetic split where it's not all coming together. And that's why I brought the sage. I don't want to violate their beliefs or privacy, but I believe that I could do something because just to make it all come together in a circle.
All right, sitting here at Casa Vieja for our ghost hunt this year. Hope you're all enjoying the show this afternoon. Now I want the good stuff from Linda. Okay, so you must have talked to people. You must know the legends. What have you heard? What's going on here?
Well, one of
this
the
place
things
is supposed to be haunted.
I wanted to start with was in listening to Cynthia talk and her concept of parts and pieces coming together. This building has been added on and modified over all these years, and some of it's new and some of it's old, and so what she was saying was right on, and she said something about coming home, and I hear that phrase from my customers all the time. Unsolicited. They say, this place feels like coming home. So I thought it was interesting because she was really right on with that.
It's, it's funny, for a supposedly haunted building, this does have kind of a comforting feel inside of it.
Right. Well, I think that's the adobe and the massive walls.
Except Gabe is shaking a little bit.
I think there's something to that because the building material, the earth, and that old saying, earth, ashes to ashes, dust to dust.
Right.
And I think all of us can feel that in one sense, no matter where we're from.
Absolutely.
You are part of the earth, and an earthen house really lends itself to that.
It does.
Stories, come on, give it up.
Well, so do you want the ones I've had experience with, or do you want the ones people tell me, or what do you want to hear
you first, and then tell me what you think are the best ones and the most believable ones.
Okay, well, I approached the building with the idea that I thought it would be fun if it was haunted, but I didn't have any idea whether it was or not. And so one day, shortly after we bought it, I was here cleaning up Christmas decorations after Christmas. And I was here by myself during the day, and I heard all of this commotion going on. Like somebody came in the back door of the very back door and walked through the kitchen, and as if they were carrying shopping bags or something. I mean, you know that sound, that bustling sound of somebody walking through. And I immediately assumed it was Gary. And because he was popping in and out during the construction and stuff. Well, as it turns out, it wasn't Gary. There was no one here but me.
Wow.
And that was it was really freaked me out in the beginning. And in the beginning, I was kind of afraid to be here by myself. But over time, I've learned that we have Casper the Friendly Ghost here. And the things that consistently happen are doors opening and closing.
Wonder why they do that. Why do ghosts insist on opening and closing?
I don't know, but it's happened. The first time it happened, it was with one of our electricians, and he went in this closet over here to add an outlet. And I hear all this screaming and thumping and banging, and I run in here, and the door closed behind him and latched him in.
Oh, wow.
And it's always in the same place in the building.
Oh, you got to show me where that is.
Yeah.
Okay.
And since then, Gary was working on the heating. He's been kind of a skeptic. And he was working on the heating one day on a ladder right in that hallway, and the bathroom door opened right behind him all by itself. And, being an engineer, he figured, oh, well, there's got to be an air current or something. He tried to recreate it, and he couldn't. And he called me and he said, maybe there's something to this ghost thing. And I've been on the patio when the door would just open and close all by itself. And just last week, one of our servers walked into the back part of the building, and a spring-loaded door that stays closed all the time opened in front of her as she walked up to it. Ooh. And she came in with her eyes, as wide as...
Kiki got chills when you said that.
Yeah, it was pretty...
She just like...
Well, and that's it. The thing is, there's no way to anticipate it. You never know when it's going to happen. Right. It's just crazy.
So you've experienced these things, and yet you come back in here.
Well, yeah. And actually, it's become part of the charm and the way I love this place, and so it doesn't scare me anymore.
How long did it take before you just kind of accepted it and realized, all right, this is kind of weird, but
probably
I don't
a couple
think
of
there's
years.
gonna be any harm that comes to us?
Probably a couple of years. I mean, we've had other ghost investigations here, and I've learned a little more about it. And every report from anyone that I trust says consistently there's nothing negative here. It's positive. And so a lot of the stuff almost seems more like a prank, than anything else.
Before you bought it, did you know that maybe there was some stuff going on here, or was this a surprise to you once you guys moved in?
The previous owner talked about seeing a ghost, and we really didn't know much more than that.
Saw a ghost. Actually saw.
Yeah,
one.
well, he said it was a colonel with epaulets on his shoulder, which ironically is something we've never had any experience with. And I'm not sure he didn't say that to boost the saleability of the property. And the other thing that's pretty cool, you asked about legends, TJ. This is a living legend, because if you see the painting on the wall over there,
yes,
the previous owner mentioned it in a newspaper article and an interview that he had a painting that had been found in the walls here. And it really piqued our interest, and my daughter kept saying, "Where's that painting?" And he kept saying, "Oh, it's in the garage and I'm at home, no big deal."
Yeah.
And finally, when we got ready to get serious about buying the building, she said, "Either you bring the painting in or we're not going to buy the building." And it turns out that painting is a 17th century French duke. And
I'm looking at it right now.
He was found inside one of the walls in the very back of the building by a contractor who was fixing a roof leak. And he pulled it out of the adobe, and it was saturated from the water from the roof leak and covered in mud, and he didn't even know what it was. And so, long story short, we've had it restored.
Yeah, obviously you've had it restored.
Yeah, it was in pretty bad shape.
Yeah.
And so, that's one of those things, my consistent question to everybody, and we've talked to a lot of people that have lived here over the years and worked here. Nobody knows where it came from. Nobody has the slightest idea how it got there.
Is there a historical precedent of a certain time period where people would store things in walls?
There is. The only thing, again, that deepens the mystery is, yes, that was quite common for them to do things like that, because actually there were two little windows above the fireplace in the other room where they shot, watched for enemies and shot out the windows. And I mean, this, at one point in time, this was a hostile area, and they were worried about that, so they would hide things so they wouldn't be stolen.
That was a very good question.
Good question, yeah. So immediately, that's where our thoughts went. Mm-hmm. And then, as it turns out, this painting was found in the newest part of the building, and the frame is much newer than the painting. And so, it's very weird. We just don't know why it was there. The only thing we can come up with is maybe a divorce, and they were hiding it from somebody. Or no, I mean, really, we don't know.
So, do you think he was hiding in the wall and got stuck? Or he was
I think he had to have been put in there based on the way it was found. It was covered in mud, and it was almost embedded in the adobe. And I think if you've got a painting, you want to say, why would you put adobe over it? I don't know. It's crazy.
All right, we're talking. This is Linda Soha, one of the owners of Casa Vieja. Got to do another break. I want you to hand the mic back to Gary because I want the good story that you told about 2 years ago. Okay, to me. All right, hold on a second.